Good morning, I'm Kensei and welcome to Dragontrek. I started before 7:10. I walked a little bit because there were others sleeping in or around the shelter. I was alone in the shelter, but there were other people in the area. I'm hiking 9 miles today, and this morning is slight elevation gain and a lot of rocks. The elevation gain yesterday, even though it looked steep on the map, it was all switchbacks. Now we're going down, but it still is rocky. I didn't record exactly where I got on trail yesterday, and I don't remember. So this is approximate. But I have hiked 400 miles on the Appalachian Trail. Woohoo! There's supposed to be ruins after some estate here. I walked past it. Couldn't see it the first time around. There might be some rocks forming a wall or a fence or something over that way. Yeah, I don't see it either. Well, coming back and looking for it, I could sort of see it in there, but it's not something you see on camera. An arch? No, not that arch, obviously. And I'm assuming that is the tomb. Gath's empty tomb. There seems to be another gate in there and some brick, but mostly black. This sign tells about Gath's empty tomb. He built this about 20 years before he died, but by the time he died, he was penniless and he was buried elsewhere. Symbolizing, or this empty tomb symbolizing the uncertainties of life, fame, and fortune, and the certainty of death. Please pause to read all of it. In addition to the tomb, there is a parking lot and some sort of gay house or something over there. I'm too curious not to go investigate. Brownsville Pass, Sam's Gamble. Major General McClaw chose to put the bulk of his forces of one pass, thinking that the Union Army would come there, sending a smaller force to a different pass, and that's where the Union forces struck, which meant that McClaw was of no help whatsoever. He thought it was only a feint. And apparently the Appalachian Trail comes this way. And since I've put my backpack off at the tomb, I might just as well go this way without it and investigate that stone house later. Gathland Hall, Gathland State Park. This structure was built by George Alfred Townsend, called the Gapland Estate. I'm not sure why they have the Gathland and Gapland, but this is a museum, one of the biggest buildings that he built on his estate, and it's supposed to be open, so let's check it out. Civil War, but it's not so much for the war itself as for the war correspondence that covered the war, Gath being one of them. I didn't notice, but the carpet in here is actually a map. That is so awesome. There are outlets there. I'm assuming they work and you can use them to recharge your stuff. On the other side, we have water, and it looks like there actually is water and that it works. I haven't tried. Some benches and some restrooms. It's the entrance to Gathland State Park, and over there's the arch that's dedicated to war correspondence, and only such monument in the world. Shelter used by permit only. I stopped here at Gathland State Park for over an hour. It was interesting. Some ruins with the year 1887 on it. Not sure exactly what this is supposed to be, but if this was the ruin that was marked south of here, I could understand, because the AT is just next to it, but that this has been misplaced on far out, I don't know if that is true, but it makes sense to me. I have 5.3 miles to go, which means that I hiked almost 4 miles in 2 hours. Of course, I spent another hour hiking no miles at the state park, but I'm still ahead of the curve, which is good. The trail up to the state park was sometimes uphill, sometimes downhill, sometimes flat, but it was always stony. I just saw a bunch of deer that way. Since I was having a break and my phone was in my pocket, I didn't have the chance to record them. So I've been on the trail for 4 hours. The last hour I hiked 1.6 miles. I have, was it 4.8? No, 3.8? About a little less than 4 miles to go for the day. It's a little past 11. So even if I would slow down and do a mile per hour, I would be done by 3 o'clock. I expect to be done way sooner than that. Views. I like those trees, to mention that first, and then we can see forever, almost. My Nalgene bottle has fallen out of its pocket several times today, as if my backpack isn't packed the way it normally is, and that it is pressuring the bottle to fall out, or it's not being given the normal amount of space to stay in there comfortably. The past 2 hours, the trail was rocky, sometimes wide, sometimes narrow, sometimes uphill, sometimes down, and very rarely there were short sections that were without rocks. It's now 1 o'clock. We have 0.5 miles to go, and this section of the trail seems wide and not very rocky. So I'm expecting to make good time if the trail remains this way, and get to the shelter before get to the shelter before 1:30, unless I do that again. Of course I went the wrong direction. It took me half a mile before I noticed, And you know how many fallen logs I stepped over before I noticed? I figured these were fallen trees that hadn't been taken care of. I need to get better at making sure I'm still on trail. We're back at the road crossing where I half an hour ago said that I would be at the shelter in half an hour, in less than half an hour. Of course, that was before I hiked 0.5 miles in the wrong direction, stepping over at least 15 to 20 logs across the trail. Still not figuring things out. Okay, this is where I'm supposed to go. I see blazes now. And as if taking the wrong turn wasn't enough, I actually walked past the blue blaze to the shelter without seeing it. And now I'm going south back towards the blue blaze, hoping that I will find it this time so I have somewhere to spend the night. How did I miss this? This is a big area, there's a big left turn. There are signs, so I was obviously not looking there. I was looking down at the ground. Well, here's the blue blaze. I should tell you, when I made the wrong turn, that trail was flat, it had no rocks, and the 0.5 miles from the road crossing to this blue blaze was downhill with lots of rocks and about the same amount of logs across the trail, though the 80 logs very well could have been there to help with the elevation change. So this is at the old shelter. There's a firing, a couple of chairs, bench, more benches, and then you have to climb up to the shelter, and this is where you're going to sleep, and the roof is not far above you. I like the new one much better. Some red leaves on that tree that otherwise have green leaves, just as I saw in New York when I was hiking out of Harriman Park. I'm apparently not the only one who likes my hat.
Hi, this is Editing Kansai. Unfortunately, I forgot to shoot an ending of today's hike. So keep on checking.